Lastly, let me just run through some of the specifics of what we're looking at in terms of our political participation and the races that we're going to be looking at. So, as Maria mentioned, we're looking at 6 states, and we arrived at that calculation through a combination of quantitative and qualitative analysis. And so in the information in the packet, there's a description of what the targeting criteria are. And so there's a number of quantitative criteria as well as qualitative. And through that process, we've identified these 6 pieces, these 6 states, so that everybody discussed. So let me run through them and try to give a preview of what we're looking at. We haven't made final decisions around what we're going to, how we're actually going to play, but to give you a flavor of how we're approaching it. So in Texas, we'll be looking both at federal races and at state races. We think one of the great opportunities in this election from a progressive standpoint is a chance to actually make progress towards picking back up the House for the Democrats. And that there's great opportunity both in Texas and in California in particular to be able to pick up significant House seats. So we'll be looking at Congressional District 23, which was formerly held by a Democrat, overwhelmingly Latino seat that was lost in 2010. We'll be looking at District 33, which is the Dallas area, which is one of the new seats created. Texas picked up 4 seats this election because of the redistricting. And we will be looking at Congressional District 14, which is the seat actually that Ron Paul holds and will be relinquishing. And Nick Sampson is running there, and he formerly held the seat after Tom DeLay was convicted and incarcerated. Just convicted. So we'll also be looking at House District 144 in the Houston area. Woman Marianne Perez there, who was a strong community activist, was backed by organizations like Texas Organizing Project. And we're also looking at Senate District 10, which is Wendy Davis. I don't know if you've seen that. I have to tell you this is that. This is a woman who was was a strong fighter for justice within Texas. She filibustered the $4 billion in cuts around education and has really stood out as a leader, and that she was singled out politically first in terms of them trying to redistrict her out of her seat. They were unsuccessful in that. And then yesterday, her office was firebombed. And so there's actually pictures on burnt orange, and actually Rachel Maddow posted pictures also yesterday of the attacks that are on her. So that's an example of why I actually have somebody back in that kind of situation. So that's the people what we're potentially looking at for Texas and the ways that we could actually play, and also the ways that you can begin to make a difference in a state as large as Texas for a long-term strategic change. Arizona is another seat another state we're looking hard at, and then it's a larger strategic political significance in terms of obviously been the ground zero for a lot of the anti-immigrant backlash within the country. But part of that backlash is, much of the backlash is tied to the fact that there are so many people of color and Latinos in particular within Arizona. And so by actually increasing Latinos' civic engagement, participation, and voting, you can have multiple impacts this cycle, right? So you can actually bring the state into play for Obama. It was something that was considered only because it was McCain who held it in 2008 that was not considered in play, but this time it was looking at being in play. There's a Latino candidate running for Senate, Richard Carmona, who actually has strong biography and profile, and so that turned out to actually make a potential Democratic pickup on that in the U.S. Senate. And Arizona picked up a new congressional seat, Congressional District 9, which is 37% people of color in that congressional district, and that would be an opportunity for another Democratic pickup to move back towards taking back the House. California, I won't run through all the races, but there are 7 potential House pickup seats. The 3 potential ones that we're immediately looking at, Ami Bera ran against Dan Lundgren last time around, South Asian candidate in the Sacramento area. Mark Takano is running in Riverside, which is one of the growing areas of the state, but is actually still politically more conservative, but Mark is a openly gay Japanese American man who actually ran and only lost by 500 votes back in 1992 for this seat, and been serving in the Riverside community. And Mark has a lot of young people interested in that campaign, and that could be a base for ongoing political transformation of that area. And then in San Diego, the Brian Bilbray seat is another potential Democratic pickup. That's the area's been going through redistricting. It shrunk down the Republican majority in that area, so that's an area a lot of progressives are looking at potentially picking up that seat. Georgia, one of the things that people don't really realize about the 2008 election is that Obama got 47% of the vote in Georgia, and that he lost Georgia by 200,000 votes. And there are 800,000 eligible people of color who did not vote in Georgia. So Georgia is much more within reach than people really realize, and we think that it's somewhat an example of the lost opportunity because of some of the investment abandonment by progressives in a state like Georgia. If we had been investing in Georgia on an ongoing basis since 2008, we'd actually be in a much even stronger position to be able to contest and bring that into the competitive count for the 2008 election. So we're looking at actually doing independent expenditure efforts in Georgia. One of the people who's on our national board is Stacey Abrams, who's the Democratic leader in the House, the State House of Georgia, and then she was sketching out for us a multi-year plan that could lead towards actually flipping and transforming Georgia by 2018. And so we want to begin to lay the foundation now through an independent expenditure effort for Obama, and particularly opening up offices in parts of the state that have great potential but are neglected in terms of their infrastructure. So South Georgia, North Georgia, actually a number of Latinos and Asians in North Georgia. And that through that work begin to actually train an in-state and support an in-state network of people who can do elections on an ongoing basis. And that network of folks can then work in elections in 2013, 2014, 2016. So that's the plan and thinking in Georgia. New Mexico, primarily looking at Congressional District 1, Senator Congressman Martin Heinrich is running for U.S. Senate. We're also, that seat is opened up in the Albuquerque area, and there's three Democratic candidates running, three Latino Democratic candidates running in that seat. So we'll be taking a hard look at that seat. And then Ohio. Ohio.
Look at stole it. Boss man.
So we're Ohio. People know is always very close race for the presidential election. 2000, 2004, 2008. The margins are very contested there, and so we think an effort to increase African American voter turnout can help to solidify Ohio for Obama, as well as for Senator Sherrod Brown in his re-election race, which would be an important hold for the Democrats to be able to hold the Senate. So that's a snapshot of what we're looking at in terms of the 2012 priority races. And I think with that, we'll open it up for some questions.